while I was out walkies, I was just thinking, well, there needs to be a bit more like on the Razor's Edge with this whole inside-outside creative writing, world-building fiction setting that I've been working on and the whole overarching story. So I just started thinking, well, let's just think of another small town. What would another small town on the Razor's Edge be like? And so it's like, I thought, well, what if there was just a little place called Abernathey? So there's a little town called Abernathey. Well, what would Abernathey be doing? Well, Abernathey is a little town then that's right close to the edge of the Razor's Edge and the inside. So they're still on the Razor's Edge, but they're pretty close to the inside and the crossroads. So the Crimson Kingdom has been expanding, doing stuff. They're trying to expand, to repeat myself. And so they have a contract with the Crimson Kingdom. They grow food. Now, it's nothing major. A lot of little places do that. They grow food, they make contracts, they sell. They've got guaranteed buyers. It's a good thing, helps you survive. So that's what they're doing, growing all sorts of crops. And so I started thinking on further things. It's like, well, what happens in the U.S.? Guys started thinking about, the great cornfields. People that have cornfields and such, they always talk about how there's, you don't go into the corn at night. And, there's just, you hear things, you don't go out there. There's things you don't do in the corn at certain times. And so I was thinking about that, and it's like, well, how do you incorporate something like that in there? It's like, oh, okay, well, all right then. These people are growing crops, domesticated crops, and let's say, the corn, just to throw it out there, they hit a critical mass of corn, and they awaken something ancient and old. So let's think about that for a moment. Ancient and old. Everything always says when they're demonic and stuff, it's like, why have you awoken me? Or, you've woken me from my slumber. It's like, well, why would these things be sleeping? What are they sleeping for? Well, what would this being be sleeping for if they were sleeping? Well, what if, as an ancient being, they're just tired? They're tired. They've done it all. There's nothing left they haven't done. And not in a, I haven't flown in a helicopter, or I haven't written a book, but just as a powerful being, but still more focused on the things that they do. They like to hunt and kill and eat. And for a long time, tens of thousands of years, that's what they did. But now, there's no pleasure left in it. So I figured in one of these little situations where characters talk much more eloquently and clearly about issues, much more than they would in the real world, and usually more than you would hear in another story, just so they can get themselves clearly their point made. And so I figure in that sort of vein, there is an over-expository meeting between like a 14-year-old girl who, hearing the sounds of killing and eating out in the night, is taking refuge in a barn. And that's where the being comes to speak with her. Because of everybody that's there, she's one in a million. She's one of those that's not just like a normal person. On the inside, it's very rare for any just normal person to have any extra ability. Most people are just people. On the outside here, of course, everything is flat and dull. We have none of that stuff. Everything is volatile on the Razor's Edge. So you have things like Grumper's Toad, the 300-year-old toad. You have like Speleodoncus Ray, 400 years old, driving around on his Speleodoncus out there on the Razor's Edge. You have things that happen like that because there's one in a million where somebody with that combination of themselves and the world, they're more than anyone else. And she's one of those. Now, the being that just wants to sleep, it just really wants to sleep, as it tells this girl, they just want to rest. They just want to sleep. They want to sleep, their deep sleep. They want to dream. their slow dreams, until finally they fade out into oblivion. There are the simple pleasures. Yes, it feels good to run, to jump, to climb, to chase, to hunt. They've always enjoyed killing. Just killing, simple murder, but challenge has become more and more important to that. It is the equivalent of killing an innocent is like playing with textureless, featureless blocks. Dentures, my apologies. Textureless and featureless blocks, as opposed to something that really involves you as a video game involving other people and thought and depth and pleasure. You do this one, not this one. Simple murder of innocence, there's nothing to it. But even that, the chase, the hunt, killing, eating, is done it all so much. Even simple base animal pleasures mean nothing. Simple repetition has sucked the life out of everything. But as they say, it does feel physically good to run. It does feel good to kill. And as they lean forward, because they are a mixture of aggressive and then apologetic for being that way, they stress. It feels good. I have eaten over the past hour 12 adult human beings. It feels good to have my belly full of 1,000 pounds of undigested human meat. But all the pleasure has been sucked out of it by sheer repetition. They're just tired. And they don't know why or how, but somehow they have gotten wrapped into, if they get awoken, there are a certain number of individuals within a certain radius of them that they have to kill and eat before they can sleep again. They don't know how or why. The number of individuals they have to eat, the range and far out the who determines that, they don't know what, they just only know they wake up because of the growth of domesticated crops, and they have to kill and eat X number of people, and then they can sleep, and then hopefully just sleep until they fade away, because they're just so tired.